and today we'll continue our class. Today we'll continue our class on phrases. Now, the last time we met, we discussed what a phrase is, and we were able to define a phrase as a group or combination of two or more words, and we said it is a unit in a complete sentence. And from there, today we want to move a bit away from the prepositional phrase. I want to move to another type of phrase. And that is, we're going to be starting with the adjectival phrase. Now, basically, before we define an adjectival phrase, I would like to define what an adjective is. As you know, an adjective is that part of speech that describes a noun, that modifies a noun, or gives us more information about the noun. It could be one noun or a noun phrase. So whenever you have an adjective, know that it is in a way giving you more information about the noun you have used in a sentence, either at the subject position or at the object position. Now, if you're talking about the adjectival phrase, the adjectival phrase is a phrase that acts as an adjective in a sentence. It modifies or gives you information or more information about the noun or pronoun. It consists of adjectives, modifiers, and other words that can work as an adjective or that can modify a noun or pronoun. Now, looking at the examples that we have a kid on the roof is looking at the sky. A kid on the roof is looking at the sky. Now, you realize that the expression on the roof is actually a prepositional phrase. It is a prepositional phrase. But in this instance, it is functioning as an adjectival phrase. It is functioning as an adjectival phrase. If you remember, the last time when we were talking about prepositional phrases, we said that prepositional phrases can act as adjectival phrases too. So in that composition, we have on the roof. The head word there is on, and then the object to the preposition is the roof. So, but here, we are not using it as a prepositional phrase, but we are using it as an adjectival phrase because it is giving us more information about the kid. We could say a kid is looking at the sky. But if the question comes and it is, which kid are you talking about? Then we can say the kid on the roof. So the expression on the roof is giving us more information about the kid in question. The second example, the boy is standing. The boy standing is my friend. The boy standing is in the shop is my friend. Now, the expression in the shop, there, if I had removed it, you have the sentence that I gave you earlier. The boy standing is my friend. Now, but we may be asking, which of the boys standing? Then we can say, the boy standing in the shop is my friend. We could have a boy standing outside. You could have a boy standing in the room. You could have the boy standing on the roof. You could have the boy under the table. But the expression in the shop is giving us more information about the standing boy. It's giving us a directional information, giving us more information about the standing boy. So it modifies the noun boy. It gives us more information about the noun boy. Now, the third one, so that it won't seem like it is only at the subject position that we can only use the adjectival phrase. We can also use the adjectival phrase at the object position, in as much as you know that a noun or a pronoun can be used as the subject of a sentence and can also be used as the object of a sentence. As a matter of fact, in the English language, basically the subject and the object of a sentence are basically represented using a noun or a pronoun. Or sometimes you can use a nominalized part of speech. That is, when you make another part of speech work as a noun, that is what we call nominalization. But that is not where we are going today. So now, when you have a noun either at the subject position or at the object position, adjectival phrases can work with both of them. So now the third example tells us or shows that as much as we can use an adjectival phrase at the subject position, we can also use it at the object position. Now, the sentence, she bought a beautiful brown car. She bought a beautiful brown car. Now, you realize that if I remove that expression, a beautiful brown, I could say she bought a chair. She bought a chair, or she bought a beautiful car. Now, here we are talking about a particular chair. We are talking about a particular chair. And there, we are trying to give us a better description of the kind of chair we're talking about. She might have gotten maybe a plastic chair. She might have gotten an ugly chair. She might have gotten a bad chair. But here we are giving us a clear description, a better description, a clearer picture of the kind of chair she has gotten. And then it's from there we are able to say she bought a beautiful brown chair. So this a beautiful brown expression is modifying the object chair. The second one is a lady with long hair is walking in the garden. A lady with long hair is walking in the garden. So the last two sentences, I will want you to pick them as your assignment and tell me which of the nouns that we have used in the sentence that they are modifying. Though the answer is evident there, but I would just want us to reconfirm on our own without looking at what is given. So away from that quickly, we are moving on to the adverb phrase. We are moving on to the adverb phrase. An adverb is the part of speech that modifies a verb, modifies an adjective, or modifies an adverb like itself. So an adverb can modify a verb, so it can modify an adjective, and it can modify another adverb like itself. Now, when an adverb modifies a verb, it tells us so many things about the verb. It could tell us how the verb was done. It could tell us when the verb was done, or it could tell us where the verb was done. Now, I am using the verb so that you can understand how we are talking about the verb. Now, knowing that the verb is an action word, so I can better put it that an adverb modifies an action to tell us how the action was done, where the action was done, and when the action was done. There are some other categories. We can have the adverb telling us how much the action was carried out. An adverb could be telling us why the action was carried out. The adverb can also push us and tell us the condition under which maybe there's a particular condition placed such that the verb or the action can be achieved. The adverb will tell us that too. But basically, we are not looking at the definition of the adverb. We are looking at a function of an aspect of the adverb, and that is the adverbial phrase or the adverb phrase. Now, an adverb phrase acts as the adverb in a sentence. It gives more information about a verb or other adverbs in a sentence. It contains an adverb, maybe a noun, preposition, or modifier, which as a whole acts as an adverb. The first example, it drives a car at a very high speed. It drives a car at a very high speed. You realize with me there that the highlighted expression in the red ink isn't modifying the car. but it's telling us how the action drive was done. How the action drive was done. So if you want to give a perfect description of that adverb, it will be an adverb of manner. Because you can ask the question, how does he drive a car? How does he drive a car? Then you can say he drives a car at a very high speed. So that is an adverb of manner, telling you how the action. So an adverb or an adverb phrase will at most time or usually connect itself with the action in the sentence. The second one is, he was running very fast. He was running very fast. The question would be, how does he run, or how did he run? How did he run? So we can now say he was running very fast. The third one, she always speaks in a respectful way. She always speaks in a respectful way. This is also an adverb of manner. They walked along the wall. This is an adverb of place. Where did they walk? Where did they work? Then you can say they worked along the wall. So the other examples that you have there will put you through and let you know how an adverbial phrase or how an adverb phrase is used. So the major assignment I will give to us is that we try to write sentences and we apply these phrases into our sentences. Let us make sure that each of these phrases that we are discussing, we are able to put them into use, and from there we can say that we have gotten what we have been explaining. So moving away from that quickly, we'll move on to the infinitive phrase. The infinitive phrase. Now, anything you call an infinitive, there will always be the preposition to added to it. An infinitive phrase contains an infinitive to plus the first form of the verb. Now, for instance, if I'm going to have a conjugation of the verb sleep with the personal pronoun, both in the singular form and the plural form, I will have I sleep, that's the first person singular, you sleep, second person singular, he or she or it sleeps. Now, but for us to have an infinitive phrase, we are looking at the first form of that verb. The first one that you are using with the pronoun I, you add to it, or better still, you put it in the to infinitive form. And then you add some other parts or constituents to that thing. Now, an infinitive phrase contains an infinitive, that is the preposition to and that verb, and modifiers or other related words linked to that infinitive. An infinitive phrase may act as a noun. If it acts as a noun, it means it can act as an object or a subject in a sentence. It can act as an adjective to describe a noun, or act as an adverb to modify a verb, another adverb, or an adjective in a sentence. I'll come over that again. Now, when you say a verb is in a to infinitive, that is, you are adding to the preposition to the first form of that verb. Now, by the time you have that combination, it means you have an infinitive form of that verb. Or we'll say we have a to infinitive form of the verb. Now, the same verb that you have formed in the to infinitive concept of an understanding can be used with another part of speech or another grammatical component or constituent to form a phrase. Now, this newly formed phrase can act at the beginning of the sentence as the subject which will be taken as a noun. It can act at the end of a sentence, which could be taken as a noun if used after the verb. Or it could be used as an adjective to modify a noun, give us more information about the noun, or work as an adverb to modify a verb. Now, if you look at the first example, I like to drive a car. I like to drive a car. The question will be, you like to do what? You like to do what? Now, anytime a question, what, comes to place, usually you have a noun phrase coming in answer. But here we are talking about the structure. Now we have an infinitive phrase functioning as a noun in a sentence. An infinitive phrase functioning as a noun in a sentence. So, and it is functioning at the object position of the sentence. So the expression to drive a car is functioning as a noun in the object position of the sentence. The second one says, to get success in the exam is the ambition of every student. To get success in the exam is the ambition of every student. Now, this expression, to get success in the exam, is functioning as the subject in the sentence. So because it is coming before the verb in the sentence, before the major verb in the sentence, it is functioning as the subject, and it is only a noun or anything formed to become a noun that you can use as the subject of the sentence. It is impossible for you to use an adverb as the subject of the sentence, and it's also impossible to use an adjective as the subject of the sentence, except you want to change or nominalize that adjective to be taken as a noun. So the expression to get success in the exam is used as a noun in the subject position in the sentence. The third one is the government made a plan to help the poor. The government made a plan to help the poor. What has the government do? Or what type of plan? Or what type of plan has the government do? So now we can say that, okay, fine. The type of plan that we're talking about here, the one that was carried, is that one that has been organized to help the poor. So it will use it to tell us the type of plan. So, and anything that is trying to describe a noun or giving us more information about a noun is an adjective. We could have said the government made a plan. The government made a plan. So somebody may ask, which plan or what type of plan? Then we can say to help the poor. So giving us that notion that the plan was given to help the poor means that it is giving us more information about the plan. The other two sentences that we have, she sang a song to please the audience. She sang a song to please the audience. Why has she sung the song? Why has she sung the song? Now, we can say that she sang the song to please the audience. Reason, an adverb of reason. Why has she done that? It's an adverb of reason. So you pay attention to that. So we pay attention to that and we find a way to put that into our sentences. So moving away from that quickly, the next one I want to talk about is the gerund phrase. The gerund phrase. The gerund phrase is a group of gerund that is a verb plus ing. Or let me put it this way. Anytime you have a verb looking like it is in the continuous form, that is when you have a verb, adding ing to itself will say that that verb is in the gerund form. It is in the gerund form. So now, whatever you form with a gerund, when you bring other related constituents to it, you can use it as a phrase. Look at the first example that we have. I enjoy listening to the music. I enjoy listening to the music. the word listening to the music or the expression listening to the music is taken as a noun and working at the object position in the sentence. The same thing as he started writing the report. He started writing the report. Writing the report is taken as a noun and working or functioning as an object in the sentence. The same thing can be used at the beginning of a sentence as the subject. So we are sitting in the sun helps the body absorb vitamin D. So the expression sitting in the sun is a phrase, a gerund phrase, acting as a noun and as a subject in the sentence. Acting as a noun and a subject in the sentence. So pay attention to that. Make sure all of these that we've been talking about, you are applying them into your writing so that it can help you express yourself a bit more. And then you can have varieties of sentences to put together, maybe anytime you're given a writing exercise. Moving away from that quickly, we'll move on to the participle phrase. Now, a participle phrase is a group of a present participle or a past participle which modifiers or other linking words. A participle phrase is punctuated with a comma or commas. It always acts as an adjective. That is, it will modify the noun in the sentence. Now, let's take the first example. The students raising their hands. The students raising their hands need an extra page. We could say the students need an extra page. The students needs an extra page. But the participle phrase that we have there, that is telling us more about the students. Now, is describing the students. Now, I don't want you to mistake this for a gerund phrase. A gerund phrase is used as a noun in a sentence. That is, it could be used at the object position or at the subject position. But a participle phrase is used mainly as an adjective. It will modify a noun, it will give us more information about the noun. So when you are using such phrases, you should know what you're using it for, either as a gerund phrase or a participle phrase. If you are using it as a gerund phrase, you put it either in the object position or the subject position. However, if you're using it as a participle phrase, you have to use it to modify or give more information about the noun. So the first one, raising their hand, is modifying the noun students. The second one, she got a mail stating about her exam. She got a mail stating about her exam. You see that between the mail and stating about her exam, you have a comma there, as instructed in the explanation. A participle phrase is punctuated with a comma to tell you that it is part of it. It is part of the subject or the object. It is just that there's a bit of rest or pause to give us so that we can have the opportunity to give more information about it. And the last one, as you have it, the chair made of plastic looks very beautiful. If you examine those sentences very well, you realize that if I remove those highlighted expressions, you still have a perfect clause or sentence. I can say the students need an extra page. I can say she got a mail. I can say the chair looks very beautiful. So, but in a way to explain or give more information about the students, about the mail, or about the chair, then we have employed the participle phrase. So this type of formation may come when we realize that we cannot just use a word or a single word to express what we have in mind. So, and lastly, for today, we'll talk about the absolute phrase. The absolute phrase. And another name for the absolute phrase is the nominative phrase. It consists of a noun or a pronoun, a participle phrase, or a participle, and linked modifiers. It modifies or add addition to the sentence. Now, it looks like a clause, but lacks a true finite verb. It is separated by a comma in the sentence. Now, what this means is that while your participle phrase modifies the noun or the noun phrase in the sentence, an absolute phrase modifies a whole sentence. So you pay attention to that. So this tells us, gives us more information about the sentence as a whole. She's looking very much happy. A phrase expressing a shine of happiness. She's looking very much happy. I can just say she's looking very much happy and I keep it at that. But the expression, a face expressing a shine of happiness, is giving us more information about the whole sentence, what has happened in the sentence. So that is it. We can say she was going to college. She was going to college. So say that she, having books in her hand, was going to college. That is, we are talking about what the books in her hand has to do with her going to the college. And the last example, the wrestler, having anger in his eyes, looked at the opponent's wrestler. So if we remove that, we can say the wrestler looked at the opponent wrestler having anger in his eyes. So these other two examples that we have here, the second and the third, if we remove it and we place it at the end of the sentence, you'll see that it is just like the first one. We can say she was going to the college having books in her hand. She was going to the college having books in her hand. We can also say the wrestler looked at the opponent wrestler having anger in his eyes. So that is the last one we're discussing for today. So, but before we go, I'll just take a quick recap on what we have said today. We have described what a phrase is, and we have been told that at the beginning, we moved from what a phrase is, and we said a phrase is a unit in a complete sentence. It is not a complete sentence and cannot relay a complete thought. It does not contain the subject and the predicate, so it is just one unit. And then from there, we moved on to the type of phrases. We moved on from a noun phrase, where a noun functions majorly in that phrase. And from there, we moved to verb phrases. This was when we talked about many verbs coming together to act in a sentence. And then the third one is a prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase is headed by a preposition with a noun acting as the object of that preposition. And it can be used as an adjective or an adverb in the sentence. From there, quickly, we move on to adjective phrase or an adjectival phrase, where we said anything like a prepositional phrase can act because it will always modify a noun or a pronoun. And from there, we move on to the adverb phrase. We move on to the adverb phrase, where an adverb phrase works to modify a verb or gives us more information about the verb or the action taken in the sentence. Then from there, we move on. From there, we move on to the infinitive phrase, where we talk about a verb in its own infinitive with a component added to it, working as a noun in a sentence, either as the object or as the subject in the sentence. Or sometimes it works as an adjective, and sometimes it works as an adverb. And then the other one that we talked about is the gerund phrase that acts as, function as a noun in the sentence. It functions as a noun in the sentence or function as a noun phrase in the sentence. And after that, we talk about the participle phrase, where we say it acts as an adjective, modifying a noun in the sentence. And lastly, we talked about an absolute phrase, where a whole phrase describes or gives more information about a pre-said or a pre-written sentence. So that is where we'll stop for today. So before I go, I want to know if anybody has a question for me. If you have any question, you can type it in the chat box so that we can reason on it together and we help ourselves with it. Okay, in the absence of any question, so thank you for your time. But before I go, I would like to remind us that each of these that we have learned, it is good that when you learn a new thing, you try to apply them in your writing. Don't just learn them and then you keep them. You get better at your writing, at your grammar, when you exercise whatever you do. At the beginning, you may make mistakes, but the more you work on them, you get better at it. So thank you for your time. God bless you.